Hey everyone, Chris Swanson with Swan Song Worship here. So, a friend of mine reached out to me recently with a few questions about goals at their church concerning ProPresenter. In a moment, we'll talk about the church's setup, their goals, but most importantly in this video, we will focus on looks, layers, and macros, and how with a little bit of information about these features, you can accomplish a lot inside of ProPresenter, allowing you to have a ton of flexibility. Also sprinkled in, we will briefly hit on themes, textiles, and the ProPresenter calendar for scheduling automated actions based on dates and times of day. So let's talk about their setup. My buddy volunteers at Revolution Church outside of Denver in Colorado. They have 24/7 live worship going on. They continue the live worship right up to their service time. So their goal is to have the live worship displayed on their LED wall and possibly sanctuary screens as well, but to have their online viewers seeing a pre-service flow of slides, which might consist of announcements or maybe just a generic welcome message. For the sake of simplicity, for this demonstration, I have already created a small and simple theme consisting of a blank slide, a lower thirds lyric slide, and a centered lyric slide as well. There are a few different ways to create new themes, but probably the easiest way is to click on the theme button, make sure you're on the main theme selection menu, which right now I'm not, so I'll just click this back button, and then click on the plus icon right here. Go ahead and name your theme and hit save, and then you can begin editing your theme, adding different slides and different styles. So I'm just going to go back to show mode, click on my theme menu. I don't need that theme, so I'll right click and hit delete theme, confirm. So let's dive into our theme. I'm going to just click on this pencil icon right here. So again, I created one slide in my theme without any elements on it. I titled this slide Video plus Slides Only. Very simple. I then added a slide for lower thirds lyrics. To add a new slide, just go on up to presentation, click new slide. You can also hit Command Shift N. I don't need that slide, so I'm just going to Command Z to undo. So for my lyrics on video slide, you just click on the plus button and click on text, and then go to town, adjusting your text styles. What I sometimes like to do is select the text object, and then under the Shapes tab, I like to check the fill box. This fills the entire background of the text object with whatever you select. In my example here, I have a gradient in which I selected two colors, a very dark gray and then a light gray, and then I adjusted the blending with the angle. You'll see it filling up the entire box if I deselect this. So there you have the entire text object filled with that color from the shape menu. The next thing I do is I go to the text tab right here, and after I set my font and my size and positioning, I check the box that says lines only. I do this so that the only part of the text object that contains the background color is what is around the text. This can be the entire line, if I select full width. This can be just around the text itself, if I select line width. Or this can set the color to, or the size of the bars to the longest line of text, if we select max line width. Personally, I prefer line width. Additionally, you can play around with padding and alignment to accomplish different results. Experiment with these settings and see what is good to you. And like I said before, I named this slide Lyrics on Video. Finally, I added a third slide for centered lyrics in the case of sanctuary screens with a traditional graphics background. To do this, I just right-clicked on my second slide and clicked on Duplicate. From there, I selected the text element and made sure I was in the Text tab, not the Shape tab or the Build tab. And I clicked on the drop-down box for scaling. and I went ahead and selected text up. This allows me to change the size of the text element for what I would like, and it scales the text accordingly. Then just move the text element to the center of the screen, and you're good to go. And I went ahead and named this lyrics on background and do those changes. Now that we have our theme, let's talk layers. Our solution for helping Revolution Church accomplish its goals occurs primarily within looks and layers, and in a moment we will discuss how to effectively execute these elements using macros. So first off, let's talk layers. To get a better understanding of layers, we're going to look in two different spots. For our first stop, let's look at a list of the layers from Renewed Vision's official support page. Take a few minutes to pause the video here and get a working knowledge of the different output layers ProPresenter uses. Make a special note of the slide and presentation background colors. If you're trying to work through the things that we discuss here and you have some solid color on the screen preventing you from seeing what you are seeing in this video, you may have one or both of these background colors enabled in conjunction with your media and video layers set to the background. The information on this part of the page discusses the different scenarios and how to disable the background colors or set your media and video layers to the foreground. But most of the time, I just prefer to have the presentation and slide background colors disabled. Our second stop for layers is actually in the Looks menu. You can get to this menu in a few ways. First, you can click on this button with the glasses and the mustache and select Edit Looks. Second, you can right-click on a slide or a macro and navigate to the Add Action submenu, and then go to Audience Looks, and then select Open Audience Looks. So again, you can do that from a slide. You can also do that from a menu, Add Action, Audience Look, Open Audience Looks. Third, you can select Screens in your toolbar, and then select Edit Looks. All three of those methods will get you to the Looks menu. In the Looks menu, let's click on the top left corner of the menu, which should have the name of whatever look is currently live, or it may just say Live. When you click here, you should see this button that says Enable Identify. Pressing this button will allow you to see the active layers on all of your screens. So if we look at the preview layer here in ProPresenter, I currently have the online screen being previewed. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clear all of our different actions so that we can see everything that we're going to change here. Because as I check or uncheck boxes, I can see that those layers will appear or disappear on that specific screen. Additionally, if I uncheck a layer on one screen, for example, if I uncheck the video input on my online screen, I can change my screen preview and see that if that layer is still checked under one of these other screens, that layer is still present on those specific screens. So for example, I unchecked my video input here for my online screen. I can see that it is no longer present on my screen preview. But if I change to, say, my LED wall or my sanctuary screens, because the video input is checked, I'll see that that layer is active on either of those screens. However, because the media layer is not checked, those are not present. That layer is not present on either of these screens. So let's go back to my online screen. So now we're hopefully familiar with layers and how they interact with one another between screens, and we should also have an understanding that we can have different layers present or absent on different screens using the Looks menu. The left side of the Looks menu has the presets list and a plus icon. Click on the plus icon to create a new look and name it whatever you'd like. First, I made a look I called Revolution PreService 24/7. This will be my look that I will activate to trigger video content on my video wall and sanctuary screens, but show announcement slides to my online congregation. So I unchecked the media boxes under the sanctuary screens and LED wall, but I left the media box checked under the online column. Then I make sure that video input is checked under the sanctuary screens and LED wall, but unchecked for online. Additionally, I select these boxes here to add an alternative theme, which in this case is just ensuring that the correct themes are selected when I activate this part of my service presentation. Here I simply selected the blank slide for all 3 columns. In future situations, one of these alternative themes may be different from the others, depending on what we're trying to accomplish. If you'd like, you can click on the Make Live button, and then let's go into our slide presentation. Make sure that we are in Show View. I have several slides here with some different JPEGs dropped into them. Dropping the images on the slides creates what is called a media action. This next step can be accomplished in a few different ways, but the simplest way that we'll cover for now is to right-click on the first slide, go down to Add Action, and then go to Video Input, and select whichever video input you'd like to flow through ProPresenter. Next, select the slide and make sure it's highlighted or selected and live. There you have it. There's our slide. Since I have my online screen preview selected and our look is live that we just created a few moments ago, nothing has changed on our online screen preview. But if we change to our sanctuary screens or LED wall, you'll see that the video feed is coming through without the slides being present. Hey everyone. So next, let's go back to our online screen preview. And we're going to do a few quick steps to make the announcements flow for our online congregation. We will right-click on each slide and set a Go to Next timer. Set your duration for each slide and click Done. But on your last slide, make sure you check the box that says Loop to Beginning. You'll see that now, as we click on the slide, you have to re-engage this first slide to start the timer. After 5 seconds, it will move to the next slide. And you'll see that setting up these timers and setting up the loop, see this last slide has not just our timer duration, but also our loop to beginning. So our announcement slides are now on a loop. And you'll see that if I go to preview my LED wall or our sanctuary screens, both of those will still have the live video feed playing through, even as our announcement slides are looping through for our online congregation. Now let's demonstrate something else we can do to increase flexibility. Let's go back to the Looks menu. Click on our created look and, well, right-click rather, and we'll hit Duplicate. So you'll see that duplicates the entire look. We can rename this look to whatever we'd like. In my case, I'm going to go ahead and hit Delete. I've already done this and I renamed it Revolution PreService Slides. The only change I made here was under the Sanctuary Screens column, I went ahead and enabled the media and disabled the video input. Here's why. Remember how I said we could use macros to execute some of this stuff more easily? Well, here's how. Let's jump into macros. On the main page of the ProPresenter application, go about the middle of the screen all the way to the right to this little tab here that has the M. You hover over it, you see that it says macros. Make sure you click on that to enable the menu. Now let's add a macro that will activate the media action or JPEGs on the slides on the sanctuary screens now, in addition to the online screen, but leave the LED wall with the video input. So let's click on this plus button. It will create a new macro, name it whatever you'd like. Let's say, for example, PreService slides plus LED wall video. Very long name, but anyone looking at that will hopefully understand what it's doing. Now we will right-click on that macro. We'll go up to Add Action, and let's select Audience Look, and we will select our Revolution PreService Slides Look. And also, because I like redundancy, I'm going to add the video input to this macro as well. So I just go up to Add Action, Video Input, Input 1, Video Feed. Next, we're going to click on View in the toolbar, and we're going to come down here and select Calendar. Here, we can activate that macro on a continual basis at a specific time. So let's click on the plus button. Let's name our event, say Sanctuary Slides Activate. And let's say our service starts on the 11th, that's this Sunday. And it starts at 10:30 a.m., but we want the pre-service slides to start 15 minutes prior on the sanctuary screens for our in-person congregation. So we'll set this date to Sunday and say 15 minutes before 10:30. We'll go ahead and make it 10:15 a.m. And then we go ahead and select the days that we want the schedule to repeat. And if you want it to repeat indefinitely, just do not click on the box that says ends on. And the last important step here is to click on the drop-down menu right here and go down to macros. And we want to select our macro that we want to shift the looks on our screens to. So in this case, pre-service slides and LED video wall. So let's exit out of the calendar and see what will happen when that macro activates. So I'm going to go to the sanctuary screens, and you can see that right now it is on the video input. But when the calendar icon, and you can see down here that this macro is set to a schedule now, when the calendar gets to that specific day and time, it's going to activate this macro. And here's what happens. You see that I clicked on the macro, and then immediately what it did was it changed the look. So on our sanctuary screen, we now have the slides going for our in-house congregation. Our LED wall still has the video input of the 24/7 worship that's going on. And our online congregation, they didn't see any change. They still see the pre-service announcement slides or welcome slides, whatever you put in there, they're still seeing that. So the last thing we'll demonstrate is how this flexibility can be carried over into the corporate worship service. Let's go back to our looks menu. You'll see that I duplicated one of our previously created looks and named it Revolution Sunday Worship. For this look, I only checked the media box for my sanctuary screens. And I only have the video input boxes checked for the LED wall and my online screens. I selected lyrics on background for my alternative theme under the sanctuary screens. And I selected lyrics on video for my alternative theme on both the online screen and the LED wall screen. From there, I'll close this out. I created a macro called Revolution Sunday Worship, and I dropped that macro, and for that particular macro, I added the action, audience look, Revolution Sunday Worship. From there, I had my first worship slide, and I dragged that macro right onto my slide. You may want to drop it on the first actual lyric slide, but let's see what happens to my different screens as I activate this macro and pull up the lyrics for worship. So my online screen has slides still going, my LED wall has the live video content, and because of our last macro, our sanctuary screens also have the announcement slides going. So when I go ahead and select this first worship slide, you'll see that that takes our online congregation to the live video view of the worship leaders that will be leading from the platform. There is no change on the LED walls. It will still be displaying the live video feed of our worship leaders. But for our sanctuary screens, you see that it now stays on the slide background. Additionally, when we go to lyrics, we have our lyrics larger and centered on screen for our sanctuary screens. On our LED wall, we have our lower thirds going on there, and we have that screen essentially duplicated for our online congregation as well. So there you have it, flexibility in your different ProPresenter screens and outputs utilizing looks, layer, and themes, and how to activate those changes smoothly and easily, even with the option of automating changes via the calendar schedule. If you have any questions or thoughts, please leave a comment down below. It can get a little complicated, so feel free to reach out if you're getting a little confused on anything. My friend was also curious about delivering content during the teaching pastor's message, such as sermon notes, illustrations, graphs, and graphics. As you might have guessed, ProPresenter allows for a lot of flexibility on how to display that kind of content, so stay tuned as I'm planning on getting a separate video covering the different options we have to get this content to the congregation in a visually and aesthetically pleasing way. So until then, please like, share, and subscribe. Check out the description for ways to support the channel, and God bless.